Merdita, and welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. That's supposed to be Albanian. I've been linked to a video that's conveniently got a list of lots of like major languages or whatever to say hello in, but the comments on this video say that her Albanian is absolutely awful, with 19 thumbs up on the top comment, so that might have been bad. But in any case, hi guys, welcome to Guild Wars 2 Daily. Today we are going to be talking about mechanics. I was going to go to lore. I was thinking that we could do like mechanics and then a spotlight and then servers and then lore Q&A and then back to mechanics Q&A, but I don't know, we'll just go with whatever takes me on the day. Nice to see that you guys really like the idea of the servers videos. I know I did get one person saying, oh well, what's the point in this when the server names and stuff could change again by release, and that's true, that might happen. I don't expect it to though, not since when the first beta happened we had a specific selection of servers, and then when the second beta happened really all they did was add to it. We might see some stuff taken away in the future at some point, but hey, I think it'll be fun to do anyway, and in future I will get more servers into each individual episode. Loads of people told me, oh, don't worry about rambling, wooden potatoes, we love to hear it, I would love to hear you rambling. Nobody ever complains. To tell you the truth, people do complain every now and then when I go too long, and I don't like listening to myself rambling as well. I think there is a point where I just start talking and talking and talking, and there is a lot of space between any key points I might have, so I do try and give myself a limit at the moment, especially of work, until I'm driving in and out. If I go too much longer over the 10-minute mark, especially 15-minute mark, if I go too much past that, it just becomes a royal pain to get everything done before like 11 o'clock at night when I get to bed. So I'm trying to keep it, maybe we'll go a little bit longer every now and then, but in any case, that's generally why we're looking at, you know, between the 10 and 15-minute mark right now. Could go up, could go down, I don't know. Anyway, so for the video, I was looking around for news. There's not really any news. The last blog post was still the fact that they're hiring new artists. There haven't really been any dev posts, not on the forum that I used to go on anyway, Guild Wars 2 Guru. I looked on the beta forums and couldn't really find anything that interesting, and I looked on Reddit and couldn't really find anything interesting in the news. So not much new has really happened within Guild Wars 2 at the moment. If you guys have heard of something, please feel free to tell me in the comments, and so I can kind of keep in the loop a little bit here. I don't really get much of a chance while I'm at work, but yeah, I couldn't say anything. So instead of doing something like that, I thought we'd do at least 2 questions of mechanics Q&A for today. One of them was really quite interesting that I've kind of glazed over before but never really directly spoken about it, which is to do with Guild Wars 1, the Hall of Monuments, and what it actually means for you in Guild Wars 2, in particular the titles. So the first question was from Carl with the hair. Before I get too ahead of myself, Carl, my intros are getting so long, aren't they? The footage in the background comes from Rydal Gaming, who at this point I haven't even looked at what they've got on their channel, but thank you very much to them for whatever it is I've chosen, and you can find a link in the description below. Right, yeah, so the first question for today was from Carl with the hair, who said, I know you've kind of gone off of answering questions, but I'd like to ask your opinion on something. What do you think will be more prestigious within Guild Wars 2? Having a character with God walking amongst mere mortals that you achieved in Guild Wars 1, or any title at all from Guild Wars 2? Since Guild Wars 2 is an entirely different game, I think even the lowest, easiest title that you can achieve will be more prestigious than Guam, as it shows that you've at least played this game, rather than what will be an old game. What do you think? That's an interesting way to come at it, and it's not something that I often think about. What will be more prestigious to me? That just is rarity. How rare is one of the things. The thing that's rarer is the more prestigious thing. But you might have a point here in that the Guild Wars 1 titles that you will get in Guild Wars 2 for having been an active member of Guild Wars 1, as far as an indication of your skill in the game or how much dedication you've put into Guild Wars 2 goes, they don't mean anything. They don't mean squat. And you're right, actually, that even God walking amongst mere mortals, for those of you who don't know, it was incredibly difficult to get in Guild Wars 1. Very, very difficult. It took a very long time to get to. It was basically for a lot of people where they'd mark completing PvE, and as a lot of you know, for MMOs, really, it's very hard to consider yourself complete with an MMO. They're very careful about that. Well, that was kind of the end game, really, for people, most people anyway, in PvE for Guild Wars 1. It was kind of like you max all of your individual titles, and by doing that, basically, you could max more. But basically, by maxing nearly all of them, you would get this final one called God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals that kind of showed you did everything, really. There was more stuff to do after that, and in particular when you got really competitive in PvE, it came down to racing against other people for decent times in instances and stuff. But that was a very, very hard title to get anyway. But despite the fact that it was that hard to get in Guild Wars 1, and now you've got your equivalent in Guild Wars 2, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. It just means that you've got something that will eventually end up quite rare. Whatever the God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals version in Guild Wars 2, like if they're going to add a title that you get for completing all other titles in Guild Wars 2 as well, if that kind of thing exists, then that's going to be probably held in far higher regard than the God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals title. There are some interesting things to consider though. I think in particular, obviously as Guild Wars 2 gets older and older and older, the older even still Guild Wars 1's going to get, and the more rare those Guild Wars 1 players are going to be. So there will be a point, say in 5 or 6 years, where I will say, even though necessarily God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals won't mean anything for your skill in Guild Wars 2, I do think eventually there will be a point where it is a very prestigious thing to have, and it will be something that you can kind of walk around in Guild Wars 2, and people will say, well, that guy's got a really good title, because it will just be so old by that point. Many of the players that were in Guild Wars 1 and achieved this title, first of all, loved what Guild Wars 1 was about, but as you say here, Guild Wars 2 is a very different game. So there is a very high chance that eventually Guild Wars 2 isn't going to grab a lot of those original Guild Wars 1 veterans in the same way. And after a long enough period of time's passed, who's to say that someone who spent 8 years in Guild Wars 1, which is what it's basically going to be before Guild Wars 2 comes out, who's to say that an 8-year-old player of Guild Wars 1 is going to enjoy Guild Wars 2, a very different game, just as much as that to play the next 8 years or even 5 years, and that's going to be much rarer to come across. I was a little bit worried about this maybe a year or two ago, that where it had taken so long for Guild Wars 2 to come out, and ArenaNet released the Hall of Monuments calculator quite early, really. I think they released it very early. That was going to give loads of people loads and loads of chance to get this God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals title, and then we would start in Guild Wars 2 and they'd just be absolutely everywhere and it wouldn't mean anything. But I think actually now we've gone so long now since that point that everyone that was really going to get God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals mostly has already got it. There'll be the odd people that are still going in and buying Guild Wars 1 every now and then, but the ones that have actually got the fortitude out of those people to get all the way up to Guam are probably quite low. At the end of the day, if you're getting really excited by Guild Wars 2 at this point and you've just learned about Guild Wars 2 this week and you're like, oh my god, and then you realise, oh look, I can get these special titles in the game if I play the first one, and then you go in, you're going to find Guild Wars 1 to feel very outdated and different, and the chances of Guild Wars 1 to grab these people that are so interested in the Guild Wars 2 mechanics is even slimmer still. So yeah, I would say that it's going to be, if we're just talking about prestige, it depends how you value prestige. I suppose this comes down to, for me, I will think that it's very prestigious. Maybe I'm biased just because I spent so much time in Guild Wars 1 and I want to feel like it's going to be worth something, but I do feel like we will get to a point, it won't be early in the game, definitely not, but we will get to a point where seeing people with this title is going to be quite the sight, and I'm looking forward to that time. Until then, I suppose we've always got to look forward to these other titles. I know I'm going to be a little bit frustrated even slightly when I'm in Guild Wars 2 and I've earned some great Guild Wars 2 titles and I won't know what really I want to show. I want to get my effort's worth out of God's Walking Amongst Mere Mortals. Guild Wars 1 was a dying game by the time I'd got the very max title, and there I feel like I didn't get great use out of it. I actually had a couple of titles I regard higher than God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals in Guild Wars 1, but because the game was dying at that point, I feel like all the effort I put in maybe hasn't fully paid off yet, and that's a totally different discussion as well there, whether you should be working for the titles just to flash them about at the end, or whether you should be working towards them because you're enjoying that progress. A lot of people get very up themselves if you say, oh, I'm really annoyed that I can't take my super rare mini pets into Guild Wars 2 because I spent so much money on them, and they'll say, well no, you should have just had fun earning the money in the first place, not showing off your e-peen. It's this weird discussion that people have within MMOs at the moment, I find, where some people just say, oh, you shouldn't be playing for EP, you shouldn't be playing just to show off all your stuff to other people, you should be playing for fun, and then there seems to be this other massive section of MMO players that think that's a perfectly fine thing to do, and my opinion, I think it is fine. A big part of MMOs is being sociable, and a part of being in that social environment is that you've got these things to work towards, and things to make you stand out from others. I think that's something fun about games, something that MMOs do very well. If you earn something, you can show it to other people, and that's where they are more fun to me than single player games. So I don't think there is anything wrong with working towards these things, even though it might be a massive grind. For me, I'm still happy to go through that massive grind if I feel like it's going to separate me from the others, and that is a certain mentality not everybody shares, and I'm not saying necessarily that Guild Wars 2 has to develop specifically for that mentality. I think that would be a mistake to make, but I also don't think we should kind of sneer at people that have gone for God Walking Amongst Mere Mortals and might now want to make sure it is something prestigious in the second game. So it's an interesting discussion. It really is. I kind of went slightly off topic there. I think eventually it will be prestigious, as I've said, but not early in the game's lifespan. And there will be people out there, as you say, that just don't care about it. They'll say, oh, wow, you played Guild Wars 1 late? That doesn't mean anything. Guild Wars 2 is completely different. And that mentality will stay, even though this title is going to get rarer and rarer. But to me, I'm not so bothered about that. I'm really not. If it's something rare and people kind of stop and say, whoa, I haven't seen that title before, that's enough for me. And that will, to me, make it feel like all the effort from Guild Wars 1 was hopefully worth it. The next question, the last question for today, is from XSchaeferX, who said, just a quick question that I'm not sure if you've answered before or if it's been answered by ArenaNet anywhere, but will there be eventually a /dance emote? I absolutely love the unique dances in Guild Wars 1, and I'm really hoping they put /dancing in for the final release. This was probably a bit of a naff question to end on, actually. This was just supposed to be a quick question that I just threw out there. But yes, there will be a /dance. They have announced it. I can't remember where, but it's pretty much a given. There will be a /dance. It's very interesting to me, and the reason why this question caught my eye is because I was talking to Magical Mike about it while we were playing in the beta. It's very interesting to me that they've clearly worked on a lot of the emotes there already and implemented them for the beta. They feel safe to have them in the beta, but /dance is one of those emotes that for MMOs and Guild Wars 2 as well, obviously, people really care about. This emote, it's so important to people because obviously it's a standard within MMOs for, depending on your race or your profession or your class or your sex, you're going to get a different dance, and people love looking at these things and seeing how they're different. And I just find it so funny that we seem to care, and I put myself in that same camp. I care a lot as well, but I find it so funny we all care so much about the /dance instead of all these other emotes which ArenaNet have been totally happy to just throw in there at the moment for us. I mean, some people have been pointing out some crazy emotes, really cool things that are going on. Like if you play as a char, /sleep is just adorable. It's amazing. It really is. I'm not a massive fan of the whole kind of cat aspect to the char. I'm not a big fan of cats in the first place, but that is so cool, that emote and what they did there. And even ArenaNet are apparently very nervous about showing whatever they've been working on for /dance, if they've been working on it at all at the moment, because they don't want people judging it too harshly too early. So that's probably why in the beta at the moment we're not seeing a /dance. I doubt we'll see it till launch, really, unless they're really happy with it at the end. And just the fact, I don't know whether this means they're putting that much more effort into the /dance, or they're just holding it off to try and avoid some kind of a backlash, or they've just decided they don't want to work on it yet until they can dedicate a lot of resources to it. Either way, I think we should hope to see some really good /dances. Apparently ArenaNet really care about it. They want to leave a good impression for the /dance, and it's just one of those emotes. I can't actually think of any others really at the moment that are super important and like people really want in the game that aren't actually there, and it's just because they seem to want to put so much effort into them. So it'll be very interesting to see how they split the /dance. I couldn't tell you, I don't think anyone could tell you at the moment whether you're going to have a different dance for every race, profession and sex. So that would just be like crazy amounts of combinations. So for example, what I'm saying would be like an elementalist might have an elementalist char might have a different dance to a char warrior, and then they would have different dances if they were male and female as well. I doubt it will go that in depth. We might see something like that. That might be why it's not in at the moment, but in any case, it's something I'm looking out for. I certainly hope it will be in one of the betas at least, so we get to see it before the game comes out. But I wouldn't mind if we had to wait the whole time. What I did see actually in another MMO recently that came out is they had like a /dance mode, which just lets you dance while you're continuously moving around. And I've kind of been joking about loving to see that in Guild Wars 2. If that happened, that would be absolutely brilliant. In any case, yeah, /dance, it will be there in game. It's a quick question. I've rambled about it for quite a while. After telling you all, I didn't really want to ramble, but there you go. Thanks very much, guys, for watching Guild Wars 2 Daily. And I guess I will see you tomorrow on the weekend. Before I wrap up, one last thing I wanted to say. On Sunday, the lore summary thing will be coming out. A few of you have still been asking. Apparently, haven't been watching some of the late things. So I'll tell you today again. Lore summary is out on Sunday. That's the first kind of big story summary thing. It's going to be slightly different. I'm hoping everyone will like how it turns out. But we'll see on the day. So anyway, there you go, guys. Thanks very much for watching. And I guess I will see you tomorrow. See you next time.